Okay, we're gonna move on to, agenda item number 18, fiscal year 2015 draft radiation management plan, second draft, Commissioner Macbeth.
Okay, thanks very much. I'm not sure how you want to do this. We had a really good meeting Friday morning at 8, and we had two agenda items, and the first one was the actual predation management plan, and this was the second time that we as commissioners have seen the plan. The committee had not looked at it as a group until this meeting, and so, but having been over many of the projects, we decided to go over everything, but we did have 4 new projects that have been added, and those were the 3 sub-projects under Project 22, which was sub-project 22-01, sub-project 22-074. 2201 is the Massacre California Bighorn releases, and 22-074 is the Rocky Mountain Bighorn Badlands project, and then project 22-205/207 GABS Desert Bighorn release, and finally a project 35 Red Fox Genetics study. And so we reviewed all the projects with an emphasis on the new projects. Got good reports from Pete Bradley, and one of the things that came out is that the department is reconsidering, based on some new information that's just come out very recently, reconsidering project 22-074, Rocky Mountain Bighorn Badlands. They've identified a disease event in that occurred, and are reevaluating the need for predation management in that unit. What the committee decided and voted was to make a recommendation to the commission to approve all of the projects, but not approve the amount of the funding at this time, to allow the department to get its hands around sub-project 22-074 and potentially reallocate those funds. And so, I think we, think all of the projects are good projects, and I'm sure that maybe some of the individual commission members on the committee will want to weigh in on individual projects, but anyway, so we did approve the plan, and we are going to have a predation management committee meeting in advance of the May meeting. And at that point, we will come back to the commission with approval of the funding amounts after we get a handle on where the project 22-074 ends up. The second agenda item was our new project reporting form, and we discussed the reporting form, and we got some good comments from Trevor Walsh, who's a member of the public who is very familiar with predation management, and I really appreciate him coming to our meetings, because he has added another dimension that I really appreciate. So thank you, Trevor, for that. What we did is we recommended that the form come back, recommended to the commission that the form come back on the May committee agenda to be finalized. I asked Trevor to provide his comments to the committee in writing and to the department, and the department is going to take a look at those and consider those and potentially revising the form. Some of the other things that I have on my list that we talked about at the meeting is that if you look at on page 3 of the Information Management Plan, which is the table of contents, it kind of has all the projects listed and the both what the fiscal 14 funding was as well as the fiscal 15 funding. You see the column for the match, and so that indicates the match, and then if you look at in the footnotes, you can see where those match dollars are coming from. One of the things that we noted is that on the sage-grouse projects that we're not, we're not seeing any matching funds come from the Upland Game Stamp funds, and maybe we not necessarily have matching funds, but maybe consistent with one of the recommendations was that we do these projects in conjunction with maybe other habitat type things, and we get some funding that involves habitat matters that are relevant to predation management. And finally, on my notes, I did note, I want to note that unfortunately Wildlife Service wasn't present at the meeting. I would hope that we could get them to engage during this process. We realize that we need them involved, in the patrol projects that they're going to be responsible for, and I think that we are going in that direction. And finally, one of the biggest things that I think came out of the meeting is that we made a recommendation. We spent a good bit of time talking about the format of the plan document that you see here and the information that is in the plan. And with a few questions, we determined that one, that there is a endowed biologist that is a proponent or responsible for a particular project and has designed that project, and that there is underlying data and documentation of the project that has been put together that goes to Wildlife Services or through whatever contractors would need to do the project, indicating the parameters. And one of the things that and looking at this plan that I've been just kind of frustrated is that I really have this desire to want to understand these projects in more detail and get more data. I realize I'm not a biologist, but I do feel that people like me, people like Trevor, who have obviously a lot more knowledge of this area, as well as just members of the general public, want to have more transparency in how these projects are put together and what their goals are, and what are they about, and where are they at, and what time of the year are they at. And even though the plan as proposed is getting there, I think what we determined is that there's a lot more data that could be put forth in the plans. And so the recommendation of the committee to the commission is that the plan be revised to basically provide everybody detail that there is. And we realized that that's going to substantially increase this document, and is going to kind of open it up. And I imagine for a while that we're going to have a lot more questions to deal with. But I think over time, it'll be a good thing. It'll be we'll all learn. The project will probably, become better and better. And I think that we'll meet the requirements of our new policy 23. And as we discussed this, one of the things that we did bring up is that the reporting of these was going to be in a lot more detail. But I really think that it's important that we really take a look at these things on the front end and question, the designs of the projects and the details of the projects. And then when the reporting comes out, we weigh and we see, how the projects have, performed and whether we did meet the goals. And so that's really the basis of this recommendation, is to increase the details of the plan, and then just create a situation where we just have transparency and full transparency, and then everybody gets to be involved in commenting and has a much better basis to make those comments. So I will then ask other members of the committee that are on the commission if they want to add anything to that. Any additionally, Commissioner Bliss?
Yeah, thank you. I think you touched on everything pretty thoroughly that went through, that we discussed in the meeting yesterday. I just want to go back to policy 23 and just explain the time frame that we're at, so the commission and advisory boards know what's coming next. And we'll have this meeting in May, and we will bring our recommendations from the committee to this commission and the board. And at that time, there'll be a final decision made from the commission. And then after that is done, the department will have the month of June basically on or before June 30th to present that final document to everybody. That doesn't mean at the June meeting we're going to discuss it and have a commission, as an agenda item maybe, I don't know, but at that time that will be a final document.
Commissioner Lane?
One of the things that we, I guess there was some concern expressed is that if you look at the policy, it talks about education as a part of some of the things that would be funded in these projects. And there were, while we were told there was some education in some of these projects, there really wasn't an education project per se. And that's, I think that's something that we're going to have to look at. And I think that's an important part of this. The other issue, of course, is, the idea that we're trying to look at, what is the goal of the program, and did it accomplish what it set out to accomplish? When we're trying to understand what happens, and not just looking at number of predators killed, but looking beyond that to was the desired result attained? Did we accomplish what we wanted to? So I think those were some important discussions that took place.
Commissioner Bliss?
I'd just like to add on to a little bit on what Commissioner Lang said as far as the educational program. In some of these documents, these projects, the landfill project and stuff, there is some education tied into these projects already, and funding available to do that education. Now on back to the whole picture, what she's talking about, I think it leads right back into what Mr. Pizzetti said earlier, and some of the education, the traveling stuff, and that may be something that we could proceed with through this committee to go down that road with it a little bit. So, yeah.
Now, and I'll mention that in the meeting, Pete Bradley did indicate that there was two education projects waiting in the wings, and so potentially with respect to the reconsideration of project 22074, we end up spending those dollars, and one of the considerations would be, to see if, one of the education projects might be ready. But, you know, we did also make the comment that we're, you know, with the new plan structure that we're going to be hopefully seeing, you know, in May, I have a feeling there's going to be a very substantial education process going on for a while for a lot of us, and as these things you know, get fleshed out, I'm sure that we'll be in a much better position to do education, you know, have education to the public. So anyway, but I think ultimately that education may be one of the key things that comes out of these projects. I think there's a lot of things that both sportsmen and the public in general need to know about these types of projects, and we'll all be better off for it. So education is going to be a key component, and I hope that we will see it in the you know, in these plans. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chairman, and if there's any other questions from anybody else. Pete, did you have any other questions?
No, I think
Okay.
I have one comment about this. Everybody thought yesterday was painful, what we went through in the morning. If we think back a year ago where we were, when we were talking about plan and money, and department was going one way, commission didn't know where we were going, people were accused us of not doing our job. I mean, a year ago we were broken, and I think we're getting back to where we need to be. Policy 23 is going the right direction, the plan's going the right direction, the department and commission are working together on this predation management, and I think that's a key to where we need to get to, and I feel a whole lot better at this meeting than I did a year ago, because I don't know what we spent 5-6 hours to get nowhere on that last time, and I think we had a special meeting right after that to figure stuff out. It was painful. So this discussion is a whole lot better than it was a year ago, I'll say that. Director Walsley?
I'd like to add, certainly for the record, as well as people in attendance here, that I've had several meetings with Wildlife Services, and they were specifically invited to attend both yesterday's meeting and today's. They have copies of this plan, and we're back on board with our